Hey there, third period. These notes are on 1.5 state formation in ancient Afro-Eurasia. So after the intro, we have 3 different lessons for 1.5. So A is on origins of the first states in Afro-Eurasia, B is on the expansion of tributary states, and C is on the consolidation, that's the joining together, of ancient Afro-Eurasian states. Our learning goal for 1.5 is to identify the origins, the expansion, and the consolidation of the first Afro-Eurasian states. And our essential questions are, to what extent was the development of the earliest Afro-Eurasian states related to the rise of urban elites? That is very much related to your starter claim. Second, how did reliance on tributes affect the expansion and the consolidation of ancient Afro-Eurasian states? And lastly, why did the earliest Afro-Eurasian states pursue policies of consolidation and expansion? Why did they join together and why did they want to grow? So let's begin. So the origins of the first states in Afro-Eurasia. The use of bronze tools helped farming in river valleys with thick, nutrient-rich soil and the development of the first civilizations. So sedentary communities in these river valleys experienced increased agricultural surpluses, so they grew more food than they needed, therefore their population grew. Not everybody had to be farmers because they grew more food than they needed, so they had economic specialization. So I don't need everybody to be a farmer. Some people can be potters, some people can be scribes, some people could be musicians, etc. Some communities developed hydrologic systems, for example, irrigation, that allowed settlement to spread in these river valley areas. From those communities, those sedentary communities along the river valleys that had irrigation systems, from those communities came the very first civilizations, also known as states, and that happened in the areas of Mesopotamia, Egypt, China, and the Indus River Valley. And when we're talking about the word state, a state is a nation or territory that's considered as an organized political community under one government. So Florida is also a state. It's a territory under a Florida government, but in this sense, we're talking about like more cultural ancient states. So these first states used bronze in weapons and in armor, and eventually their chariots, which made them stronger and also made them last longer. Bronze use led to the growth of states and developed social hierarchies. So specifically elites, people with extra money and extra time, they're not spending all day growing food. They had the expensive bronze weapons, and they also had the time to practice warfare. So those are going to become the military, and those are going to become the rulers. Farmers and laborers entered these tributary agreements where they provided products and labor to those military elites, and in exchange, the military elites are going to protect them. Also, military and political elites forced urban labor to build canals and ditches for irrigation and flood control. So it becomes also a punitive or coercive system. As time passed, elites' power and privileges over farmers and urban laborers increased. And then you really start to see that social hierarchy, that social pyramid. So the expansion of tributary states. These ancient civilizations are called tributary states. Tribute is the regular payment of goods and or services from one group, usually a subordinate or submissive group, to a more powerful group as a sign of allegiance, as a sign of respect, as a sign of lower social status, or as a result of being conquered. So they are forced to provide goods and services to the people that are more powerful. The first city-states formed in Mesopotamia. You see where Mesopotamia is in this map right here, this area in red. So those first city-states formed in Mesopotamia as warrior elites controlled that system of tribute. So Uruk, and here you see the Temple of Uruk, an early city-state. That city-state expanded through military conquest or political alliances. So they conquered more people, and then the people that they conquered were forced to provide tribute in the form of goods, not just farm products, but items like precious metals and animals, but also services, including slaves. Mesopotamia city-states had elaborate temple complexes. So farmers and other social groups were encouraged to bring tribute to the temples in exchange for spiritual protections. So they're not only paying tribute to the military elites, who are eventually going to become the leaders, but if you want protection from the gods, then you are going to go to these temples and you are going to bring tribute. You're going to bring an offering to the gods in exchange for them protecting you spiritually. The management of these early Mesopotamia states reflected social structures. So elites rely on the tribute from the lower classes, and elites support the state expansion to get tribute from conquered people. So the upper classes, who aren't growing all the food and doing all the labor, they require those tributes in the expression of food, for example, because people have to eat. But also they are supporting, expanding their territory, that state expansion, so that they can conquer more people and get more tribute, because again, they are the ones not working. Some states expanded into empires, creating the first political bureaucracies to delegate duties and to coordinate rule over larger territories. So here is the ancient kingdom of Egypt, and it did unify all of this area around the Nile River Valley, and pharaohs collected tribute. They claimed divine connections between them and the gods, and they ruled as religious authorities, not just as political authorities. At the end of the 2nd millennium BCE, the invention and spread of iron contributed to state expansion. So examples of Iron Age empires are the Hittite Empire and the Assyrian Empire, and also the Kingdom of Egypt. And these empires were regularly in conflict, and they sometimes made alliances. I failed to mention this image on the bottom left. This is tribute. These are Nubians that are bringing tribute to the Pharaoh of Egypt. So, consolidation of ancient Afro-Eurasian states. So consolidation is the joining or unifying together. So writing in ancient Afro-Eurasian states definitely played a role. So cuneiform, which is a sound-based form of writing, was developed in Mesopotamia. And so you see a cuneiform tablet here on the top left and also on the bottom. But also in East and South Asia, they developed character-based writing. And so here you have an example of this. This is from the Shang dynasty, and this is an oracle bone. So this is a bone and an animal bone, and on it you see that it has characters written on it. So those two forms of writing developed independent of each other. Writing enabled basic record keeping, and written language led to the creation and classification of laws. So here you have Hammurabi's code, and then here you have the code of Libet Ishtar, two different law codes, both in the Mesopotamian River Valley area. And the reason that being able to write down your laws is so important is because once you have those laws written, then those early rulers can assert their authority, because now everybody will know what the laws are, and it promotes political unity. Everybody within the region is under the same written law. Mesopotamians also created a system of numeracy and mouth calculation with a place value of 6. And so this is very important for record keeping. It supported greater volume of trade over a wider network of exchange. So once I expand my territory, I have to be able to accurately count how much tribute I'm giving from all of the different regions. Did everybody give me what they're supposed to? Is anybody short? I also need to be able to record the taxes that I am collecting as a state. So being able to have a number system that you can use to calculate becomes very important as you are expanding your territory. That is all for your notes on 1.5, State Formation in Ancient Afro-Eurasia. Your sources for 1.5 will help to reinforce all of this information.